Okay, so if we take what we so far understand about aggregate supply, effectively we saw that there are kind of different zones to it. And the best way of thinking about it is that, firstly we said there's sort of a vertical section of aggregate supply there. So, and what we're saying is that reflects the limit to how much the economy can produce fundamentally. So we said that's at full employment. So that effectively represents your production possibility frontier. And that's therefore constrained by the quantity of facts of production that you've got. Also, by the quality of your land, labour, capital enterprise, and also by how efficiently it's used. So the vertical part of the aggregate supply function is determined by the quantity, the quality, and the efficiency of use of your facts of production: land, labour, capital, enterprise. So the aggregate supply function could shift if there was a change in the quantity or the quality or the efficiency of use of those facts of production. We also said that there's kind of a horizontal bit of our aggregate supply function. So what that's saying is that for Y1 there is a minimum price level, or Y2 there's a minimum price level that firms or the economy will need before that output can actually occur. So obviously there's you can't supply things for zero price because fundamentally that's linked to costs in the economy. The costs of business. It's going to be linked to things like oil prices or the minimum wage. Or just wages generally, VAT. There are all sorts of costs that businesses have to pay. That means that there's a floor, below which they can't really cut prices. And then in between, as we said, kind of as we approach full employment, we get that kind of the thing we call zone 2. So the aggregate supply function, therefore, we can see it. This is a simplification of this aggregate supply function, and it's a composite one. But so fundamentally, this bit, the horizontal or the up-down bit reflects costs. The vertical bit over here reflects capacity. So what is it that can cause a change or a shift in aggregate supply? The answer is a change in one of those things. So if we were to start with so if we look at a change in something that purely affects costs. Suppose there is some sort of sudden oil shock that leads to an increase in oil prices. Nothing's happened to the capacity of the economy. No one died, and the same amount of land is available, and we have the same amount of capital equipment and infrastructure and so on. So there's no, what we're saying is that there's no impact on capacity. The economy has the glass is the same size as it was before. Our potential is the same. All that's happened, is that the cost of producing, a given level of output in the economy as a whole has risen. So how are we going to show that? Well, it's dead simple. We're going to say, well, there's real GDP, there's the price level, there's our aggregate supply function. What we just said is that nothing is going to happen to the vertical section. Nothing's happening there. So what's happening is that an increase in oil prices simply increases firms' costs, and we end up with something that looks like that. As a given level of GDP, the price level is forced up. We can look at the consequences of some of that later. But that's what causes a vertical shift in your aggregate supply function. So other things that could do anything that affects costs. So other things would be an increase in wage levels inside the economy, or an increase in indirect taxes. All those sorts of things. Obviously a decrease causes it shift the other way. Causes it shift downwards. But all those things, they're not affecting the capacity of the economy. They're just affecting relative costs. So alternatively, obviously, we might have something that affects just capacity. So two is kind of horizontal shifts. So something that allows the economy to produce more goods and services as a given price level than it did previously. So that's just something like an increase in population. Increase in migration, that type of stuff. Perhaps the discovery of new resources. So these actually are probably less common than you might think, on the basis that you'd think that most things of this nature would also put downward pressure on costs, which I'll show you in a minute. But in principle, we've got some. This is linked to changes in your factors of production. But as I say, actually, most often you end up with a kind of a composite shift, where you've got something along these lines, whereby not only does your capacity increase, but also there's downward pressure on the price level, and that's things like kind of an increase in productivity. So productivity is as I said before, the efficiency with which workers operate. If they become more efficient, then A, they can produce more, and B, they can do so at a lower cost. Or investment is likely to do the same thing. We invest into new capital equipment. Well, in the end, hopefully it's better than the old stuff. So we can produce more efficiently. So costs will come down, but also we have more factors of production and better factors of production, and therefore the capacity can increase. So you've got three shifts. And in a minute, in the next one, we'll look at some scenarios. But essentially, you're just taking these jigsaw pieces and fitting them together, and we can then say what will be the impact of these on the economy. But fundamentally, it comes back to what we said at the start. Things that affect costs, they are affecting the vertical movement. Things that affect capacity, they are shifting the horizontal movement. So the movement left-right. One thing, just last word on this. One thing to be careful of, is if you find yourself doing, kind of something like that, shifting the vertical bit of your aggregate supply function inwards. I'm not saying that's impossible, but that's showing that actually the glass has got smaller, that the economy has a lower capacity than it did before. So, often students will say a decrease in investment does that, but it doesn't. Not really, not in the short term. A decrease in investment just means we're not building new factories. Well, okay, if you fail to invest for a very, very long period of time, then sure, eventually your capital stock will be destroyed. But the impact over a couple of years is probably minimal. So just be careful with that. Be sure, if you shift aggregate supply to the left, that you mean it. That there is an actual reduction in the capacity of the economy.